back. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Today we're going to be talking about what we offer and how we may be different for some other things that you've tried. So I'm trying to tread really carefully on this conversation because I really do respect all types of healthcare practitioners. I told you in the last video, I am a licensed acupuncturist. I practiced for many, many years. So I have friends who are medical doctors. Everybody's good. So I'm just going to kind of compare and contrast some things that you may have experienced and how we may add to your journey. So I just hear a lot of stories about people going to the doctor and being really disappointed, and just different stories about where people have hit a roadblock. And often when you hit those roadblocks and you've spent your money and time, it can be hard to want to move forward because you feel like, well, it didn't work last time. Is it going to work this time? First thing I want to say is it really is a journey. I don't think there's any one practitioner that's going to save you unless someone performs CPR on the street and brings you back to life. We're all just kind of adding to each other. I've seen many practitioners over the years. I'm sure I'll still see many more, and they're all adding something of value to my case. So as we created this program, I really wanted to kind of do my best to address some of the shortcomings I've experienced as a patient and that you've perhaps experienced as a patient. So let's get started. When you go to your medical doctor that was provided through your insurance, you often get a very quick visit. And the person you meet may be friendly, may be very well-meaning, but they often just don't have the time for you. And if you're presenting, multiple symptoms or kind of vague chronic symptoms, there often isn't much that they can offer you besides an antidepressant or birth control pills. And it's often not really what you want, right? You want answers. So sometimes they'll run a blood lab for you, or they'll do a thyroid marker for you and probably tell you everything's fine, because the ranges they use on those tests are so broad that if you don't have 1 foot in the grave, it looks like you're okay. Another thing that can happen is you'll be learning things on podcasts and blogs, and you might say, hey doc, could it be this? And if they're not trained in that, or that's just sort of not something they're familiar with, you may get somewhat dismissed. You also may be sent to a specialist, which could be a good thing, but it also just might be the approach you want. If you're watching these videos, you probably want a more progressive approach, a more holistic approach, and you're not really going to get that in your insurance network because they're just sort of behind on the times, in my opinion. And there are many doctors jumping that ship to, start their own practices, but it's not easy because that's a big change and they owe a ton of money. That's kind of a different story. I don't want to disrespect doctors, but you've probably been through some of that experience. So what are your alternatives? You may go to an alternative practitioner like an acupuncturist. And acupuncture is amazing for pain and stress reduction and tons of stuff. It supports your body systems. But as someone who practiced it for 13, 14 years, the medicine is based on very old concepts, and many of those concepts still carry over, but there's no testing for heavy metals. There's no testing for Epstein-Barr virus. So some of the herbs you may get, I may actually help these things, but frankly, those herbs from China often are full of heavy metals. Many acupuncturists aren't using herbs from China anymore. So that's another experience you may have. And it can be expensive to go back to your acupuncturist. And again, you might not be really getting that answer. Another area is naturopathic medicine. So some naturopaths are trained functionally and really take the time to run labs and explain things to you. But some aren't trained that way. Some don't know that stuff. I've definitely experienced that. We're all limited in our knowledge. So if you're seeing a naturopath and the treatment is a little bit too general for you, and you're not getting the results you want, it may be time to look elsewhere. Last couple categories I'm going to mention. One would be functional doctors. So these are doctors of chiropractic medicine or medical doctors, and they're often very intelligent people. On the downside, it's often extremely expensive, maybe $1,000 for your first visit. The visits can be really short, and again, you're just really not getting the time put in to really listening to you and hearing what's not working for you and your protocol. I've definitely been through this as a client going through mold. So again, these are amazing doctors kind of leading the field, but you may have had an experience that was, less than satisfying even at your functional MD's office. And the last one I want to mention is coaching. So there's actually tons of types of coaches: life coach, business coach, marriage coach. I actually started off with a business coach many years ago, and it was like the most amazing thing for me. I went on to have several coaches. I still have a business coach. I just finished with probably my third life coach. I just really love the modality. So as I went to do further training, I ended up choosing a functional health coaching program to study with. I believe that as you change your health, you really need to change how you're showing up in the world. And sometimes that means, how your approach is to healthcare, because we don't want to be just another dead end for you at all. We might not have every answer under the sun, but if we really team up together, I really believe we can make a change in your health and frankly your whole life. And that's a really amazing thing, but it does take two. Sometimes it takes three. Sometimes it takes a whole community, right? Because we can find these supportive people around us just to help push us along on our journey. We're never alone. So that's my little rant there. On the downside about us, we are online. You're never, rarely going to be able to reach out and touch us, but it has its advantages. You don't have to drive across town and find parking. There's some things that maybe we can't do as coaches. We can't prescribe pharmaceuticals no matter what's going on. So there might be times you need to pair it with someone if you have an infection, this kind of a thing. We are located in the United States, and usually we can get through to other countries, but not 100% of the time, and things can be slower when we're trying to deal with international. We are trying to keep that factor open in our business because I do want to see people all over, but it can be frustrating. So with everything, there's pros and cons. We want to be as pro for you as we possibly can. I hope this video was helpful to give you a sense of us and how we work. And on the next video, I'll talk about what actually happens from visit 1 to 2 to 3, so you can really get a visualization of what all would happen working with your case. Thanks so much, everybody.